Hi, Day 11 readers. Welcome back. And today we are in Matthew chapter 9. We had a short read today. We were just reading verses 1 through 17, but some great passages to talk through and work through today as we go through our study. So, the first story that we read about is the group of friends who bring the paralytic to Jesus. And we'll see this story replayed in a couple of the other Gospels. And it's actually the story of the paralytic who comes through the roof of the house. So if you've read that story or heard that story before, this is that same one just told by Matthew's point of view. And this is one of my favorite stories because as a parent, it's something that I want to instill in my kids, which is to find friends who have the faith to bring you to Jesus. Um, I want my sons and my daughters to know that when they feel paralyzed by fear, by life, by tragedy, that they have friends who will have that faith to carry them to Jesus when they feel like they can't. And so that's just one of my favorite stories in the Bible, just maybe a different perspective. Um, of course, the man that's on the cot is expecting healing, and Jesus says, "Your sins are forgiven." And not realizing, the man probably not realizing that that was so much greater than the physical healing that Jesus could provide. But of course, Jesus goes ahead and heals him physically as well. And then we get into another great passage. Matthew, the writer of this book, is actually called by Jesus to follow him. And Matthew was a tax collector, and tax collectors were not seen as great people. They usually were extorting money and usually asking for more than they should so that they could keep a little bit for themselves. And so Matthew definitely fell into this category. And when Jesus tells him, "Follow me," Matthew walks away from his tax collecting booth and follows Jesus. And then Jesus is sitting and reclining with Matthew and his friends. And the Pharisees see him and, of course, call him out because he's eating with sinners. And I just love the verse in verse 13. He basically just states the gospel and what is so crucial to understand, that is, God came and sent Jesus for mercy, not sacrifice, and he came for the sick. He came for the sinner, not the righteous. And so, what an awesome testimony that is for us to know that as a sinner, Jesus came for us. And then it wraps up in this passage that we read today with Jesus talking about why his disciples weren't fasting, which at first read may not make a lot of sense. And so, just briefly discussing the fact that Pharisees often fasted maybe 2 days a week, but they were doing it mostly for show, to prove that they were more religious than other people. And then the disciples of John were also fasting, but they were fasting in preparation for what John was preaching about, for Jesus. And so Jesus is explaining that the disciples are in his presence for, the person they're preparing for, John's disciples were preparing for. The disciples didn't need to fast because they were with Jesus. And he says there's going to come a day when the bridegroom is gone, and he refers to himself. And it's one of the first times we really see that Jesus is foreshadowing to his death on the cross. And so he says, at one point the disciples will need to fast and find that time where they can get some things out of their life, whether it's fasting from food or, we can fast from all kinds of things. It can be maybe a certain show that you're watching. It can be your phone or Facebook. Of course, maybe not during reading the New Testament in the year. But those are all options for fasting. And the idea of fasting is to, every time you are wanting to do or eat or see whatever it is that you're fasting from, whenever you feel that need for that item, that you will reset your focus on Jesus and spend some time in prayer with him. And Jesus reveals in this passage at the very end in verses 16 and 17, he's talking about the new covenant that he's bringing. He's not going to just redo or fix up or vamp up the Jewish law. He's going to actually bring a whole new covenant that will bring Jew and Gentile together, which of course is awesome news for us as we are reading the New Testament now on this side of Jesus and his birth, his death, his resurrection, all for us, and so that we got to be part of his family. So I hope you have a great day today. Thank you so much for listening, and keep on reading.